Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time of day it is that you are listening, folks. Thank you very, very much for listening. Today is the 20th of January of our Lord 2020-25. Welcome to yet another edition of The Coping Hour, hosted by Nicholas Hinkle, a.k.a. Motown Noah. Happy Martin Luther King Jr. out there. Martin Luther King Jr. out there. Martin Luther King Jr. Day out there for our American folks. Don't want a damn Kiwi celebrating MLK Day. Imagine somebody in, like, Azerbaijan being like, oh, hey, it's MLK Day. Do we get the day off? And they're like, what do they sound like in Azerbaijan? I could either do a really crude, either any accent that I do is probably just going to be. So why don't we just, look, you did not come to this episode of The Coping Hour. You did not buy a ticket to the circus to hear this monkey talk about ambiguously racist impressions. You came to the circus to hear him talk about his favorite football team losing in the divisional round to the Washington Commanders. So, folks, let's do it. I don't know if there has been a more devastating loss emotionally for me in my entire life in any of the major sports that I watch. Between just Detroit sports, the four major ones, or like Michigan State athletics. And I've, in the last 24 hours, as of we're taping this, it's been about 24 hours since the Lions lost to the Commanders. I've really tried to rack my brain and be like, what's a loss that emotionally I can sort of hold this up to and it feels the same to me? The main piece of criteria being like, how long is it going to take me to get over this thing? The Red Wings losing in 2009 to Pittsburgh comes to mind. I think I referenced that one a fair bit. One that I have maybe talked about before, but certainly not as much, would be Michigan State losing to Middle Tennessee State in the first round of March Madness. And by the way, I think it's that. I think that was the last time I felt this shocked. Because that was a season that, for all intents and purposes, Michigan State was one of the odds-on favorites to win the Natty that season. And I even remember, like, Barack Obama picked us in his bracket. I log on to espn.go.com in the morning, eating my cereal before school. My brother and I were about to head out the door. I go, Barack Obama, President of the United States, POTUS, picking Michigan State. And then Giddy Potts, Reggie Upshaw, took us to the fucking woodshed, and we didn't make it out of the first round. Not just the first weekend. We didn't make it out of the first game that we played. And that sense of, I think Miles was on that team. I think Jaron might have been on that team too. Someone can fact check me on that. But that's what it seemed to be with Michigan State and Tom Izzo, is you want to be middle of the pack. You don't want to be a top dog. That's not when Izzo succeeds, right? He does better. He makes his Final Four runs when he's like the 7th seed. Is that also the case here with the Lions? Maybe. Is that a take here? I don't think so, as I say that out loud, because the truth is that I don't think the Lions being the 1 seed had anything to do with, like, well, it has a lot to do with why the loss hurt so much, but I think that whether this was the Lions as a 4 seed playing the 5-seeded Commanders, or the 3 versus a 6 like Tampa Bay was a week ago, I think the Lions lose this game no matter what. I think that is how good Washington was in this game. And I think to start things off, it has rubbed me a little bit the wrong way that people have focused so much on, the injuries, something that even us on this program have done constantly for the last 7 to 8 weeks, is, but how many guys do we have on IR? That's been the whole thing. People really want to talk about that. It is certainly a piece of the puzzle. I cannot say that it has nothing to do with anything. It does matter. It's something that, it does factor into this. Something else that people like to criticize right now is just the way that Jared Goff played, which is fair play. Yeah. Wish he played better. Would have been cool if he didn't turn the ball over 3 times. People like to criticize Ben Johnson, namely for running a gadget play with 12 minutes left in this game. Lions are down 10. You run a reverse pass. Jamison Williams throws an interception to seemingly a blanketed Jahmyr Gibbs. There was no way he was going to get that ball. And I think to use all of these, again, I don't want to say excuses because they are not without merit, but to use them as pillars of why the Lions lost, I think is really dismissive of just how good the Commanders were in this game. And I think Jared Goff throws a pick 6, and on the run back, he gets popped. It should have been a flag. And people are still mad that that flag didn't get thrown. And so the interception wouldn't, I'm sorry, the touchdown on the run back wouldn't have counted, but it still would have been Commanders' ball on like the 20-yard line. It didn't matter. You think the Lions were going to stop the Commanders? You think that was what was going to happen? Did that game not teach you anything? Did the rest of that game not? Oh, but it's about momentum. The momentum that did not have anything to, like, it was on the Commanders' side from the opening kickoff. And I think in that scenario, stopping the Commanders would have been holding them to 3. Probably would have been that. People are talking about the Lions having 12 men on the field. Late game situation. Essentially a goal to go situation for the Commanders. 4th and 2 late in this game. Lions have 12 on the field. That's a flag. Automatic first down for the Commanders. Didn't matter. That literally would not have mattered even if the Lions had 11 players on the field. Fuck that. Let's entertain the scenario, right? The refs are asleep at the wheel, and they let the Lions play that snap with 12 players on the field, and they never notice it. Do the Commanders still pick up that first down? With how that game was going, they probably would have, honestly. With how good Jaden Daniels was playing, yeah, probably they would have picked that up. I think so. When I talk about this being like the hardest loss that I've ever had to process in the history of Detroit sports, I may look back on this and view that as hyperbolic, but in this moment, I know that I have never felt this way before. I have never felt so confident that we were going to do something special this year, and that does not even mean win a Super Bowl. But it does mean, at the very least, replicate what we did a season ago. And so for that to come crashing down in the span of 60 minutes, and you're just watching it unfold, and every single score that Washington would get, you're like, it's creeping up in the back of your head. You're like, this is happening. Oh, fuck. Oh, no, this is happening. And then what happens when it does? What happens when it, like, for real happens? I don't know. Because the truth is, this is the first time that I've actually talked out loud about it, because Maddie and I sat there in dead silence for most of that game. The last time that we said, like, anything to each other was Sam Laporta having that one-handed catch for a touchdown, which was awesome. But then after that, it was, like, pretty much crickets. We just were kind of like, is this happening? And then again, it did. To close out the game, the Commanders, about 5 and change left to go, converted on a 4th down. I just turned it off and went to bed. Didn't fall asleep for like an hour and a half. Just laid there. Was just like, I wasn't speaking. I very frequently throughout my life have had bouts with like being a nonverbal person. And I'm very thankful for the internet for giving me that language to be able to identify when those things happen to me, when I like am physically incapable of speaking. It happened again, but I don't think it was like my neurodivergence. I think it was just that I was shocked. Maybe a little bit of both, but I don't want this to come across like I felt like we were promised anything or that it was, again, a given that the Lions were going to go to the Super Bowl. But when you are shown your entire life that you are one thing, and then for a 3.5-year period, slowly but surely it starts to build up, and then like maybe you're not that anymore. And then in the end, you find out you kind of are. That's been hard to reconcile with. And when I say you kind of are, it's tough because this was not the quintessential same old Lions. This loss was not like yep, there's the Lions. That's par for the course. It wasn't that, because in the past, the Lions losing a game like this is, I'm thinking of like an Anthony Hitchens, Brandon Pettigrew type situation that we had in Dallas. You know, the refs throw a flag and then they pick it up and then they miss a completely different flag, like Dez running onto the field without a helmet to contest the call in the first place. That's another 15 yards. Never called that. Or, you know, the refs will call a penalty that hasn't been enforced since the fucking Nixon administration. Or they'll just make something up completely. That is losing. Or Calvin Johnson, catch, no catch. It was definitely a catch, which predated the whole Dez Bryant thing. People just fucking forget about the Calvin Johnson thing because it didn't matter. And it was like week 1. That's the old Lions. This was more like, oh, so we just decided to play the worst game of the season in the game where we absolutely just needed to not do that. We just needed it to not be the absolute worst game of the season. It just needed to be like a like Texans bad. You know what I mean? Like, we could still win, but nope. Didn't happen. And it's also just like I thought it was like palpable, man, that something was going to happen. Again, that doesn't mean Super Bowl, but it meant like something was going to happen. And it just makes the NFC North title feel dumb. Who cares about the 1 seed? It makes the NFC North title just feel dumb, because that's another thing. We spent all year talking about, as far as the wins and losses were concerned, the NFC North was the best that it has literally ever been, ever. Not even just as a division, but as a division in football, ever. No division had ever won as many games as the NFC North did this season. Lions won 15. Vikings won 14. Packers won like 11 or 12. What did that end up looking like when the playoffs started? All three of those teams got in. What did that end up looking like? They went 0-3. None of those teams won a single playoff game. So then if you zoom out on it, so what was the reward? What was the incentive for all three of those teams playing as well as they did for the 18 weeks that they did? They all got to play one more game than the Bears did. That's it. And guess what? All four teams are sitting at home right now, just like the Bears. I guess maybe the little cherry on top is that the Lions extra game that they got to play, that was at home. Yeah, at least we got to play ours at home. It's pretty cool. And I don't really know how to say this next part, so I hope you'll show me some grace. I think two things can be true. I can acknowledge, as somebody who cares more about narratives sometimes than the actual games themselves, that what the Commanders have right now is objectively inspiring, honestly. And a narrative that I would otherwise, my teeth would have been sunk into it 6 weeks ago. But given the circumstances of how my favorite team was performing, and that they were not my favorite team, and that I knew that there was a collision course that could happen, it was not something that I was willing to spend much time on. That piece of it can be true. The story of you spend the last 30 years being nothing. Just like us, but different. Just like the Lions, but it was different. It's some success. It's some fun quarterbacks come through. But at the end of the day, it was Mussolini at the top. It was Dan Snyder that was the problem. You don't win any playoff games. You hardly get to the playoffs. You got sewage pipes breaking in the stadium. Shit and piss raining on the fans. There's nothing going on. But then that guy sells the team, and he sells it to Josh Harris. And you draft this rookie stud. You bring in Dan Quinn to be your head coach. Which, by the way, guy's been to a Super Bowl before and was like their second choice. Their first choice was Ben Johnson. Commanders representatives were on a plane like a year ago right now to come talk to Ben Johnson in Detroit while they're getting on the plane, or maybe they were already in the air. They get word that he's not going anywhere, and so they had to loop the plane around, go back to the DMV. Commanders fans were pissed, and so there's a little bit extra juice in this game for them, right? I can acknowledge that story is objectively great, what they are doing right now, while also being resentful of the fact that my favorite team is now part of that story, and that they went into the number one seeds territory, a territory that has proven to be one of the more hostile in the NFL in recent years, and they treated it like it was a Pop Warner game. Every time they would cut away to Jaden Daniels on the sideline, the guy's just like totally relaxed. Like completely fine. Like the guy took he smoked some fucking Ritalin or something. Like seriously. This guy was not rattled even a little bit. Why should he have been? He was playing out of his mind. I just haven't really been able to wrestle with, like, what just happened? What happened? It's over? I can't look back on this with fond memories. I can't. That's what I feel like was taken away from me as a fan. And I don't even blame the Commanders. I blame the Lions. Partially, at least. I feel like, you know, I worry as the host of this show that you turned on today's program expecting me to, like, have a real life meltdown where I'm, like, crying and throwing shit and, like, having a total meltdown. I apologize that I can't give you that. This game didn't invoke that kind of reaction out of me. It really is just like, whoa, that's crazy. It's over? I was worried that the whole show would just be me sitting here in silence because I still haven't really been able to figure out. Also makes the whole, goddamn, if I see one more piece of commentary about this thing. Dan Campbell's see you in 2 weeks to Kevin O'Connell after the Week 18 game. Oh, fuck. Pretty bad. That looks pretty bad. A positive takeaway that I had? I think it's Jameer's backfield. I think it's his. I think there's a good conversation to be had about him potentially being the number 1 pick in fantasy next year. He's that good. He led the NFL in scrimmage touchdowns this year. He also had more scrimmage yards this season than Alvin Kamara ever has in a single season. How the fuck is that true? It is, though. Shockingly, it is true. And so I look at a Detroit Lions team that has never been and will never be as good as they were this season. I believe that this team is built for long-term sustained success. I do believe that that is true. I believed it a year ago when we blew a 17-point lead in the NFC Championship game. I still believe it damn near 365 days later after smoking the first game that we play in the playoffs as the number 1 seed to the Washington Commanders. I do believe that. But they'll never win 15 games again. And you just can't help but feel like if it was going to happen, you know? If it was going to happen, why wouldn't it have been this year? This is where you talk about the injuries. And it's just like, it just wasn't in the cards. It got too banged up. They played too physical, and they just happened. Okay, so if the Lions were fully healthy, they would have won this game? I don't know. I don't care. Whatever. Sure. No? Maybe. I don't care. Anytime that this conversation comes up, the only thing that I can think of to say is, like, I only believe that it would be true that the Lions would win if Hutch was playing. Because that is the only guy that could have even made an attempt at containing Jaden Daniels. But he just gets the ball out so fast. He just makes decisions at such a rapid pace. Training in, like, fucking VR at 2 times speed. Like, how does he process this fast? You know? And so if I'm just fucking like, what the fuck, man? It's over. That's it. That's the season. And so I thought that it would be fun if we did something different. Now, what I did not mention to you guys is that I actually already taped this show one time. And I was going to do this in the first one, and then I punted on it at the last minute because I just ended up having too much to say. But I taped a 90-minute show, and then I put it in the can. I went to edit it, and I realized that the mic was it was not listenable. There was nothing that I was going to be able to do to fix it, right? And so I'm just going to punt on a lot of shit I said in the first take of this episode. And we're going to do a different segment. And this segment is called You Dish, I Take, which is where I look in the Coping Hour email. There's got to be at least 50 unread emails in there. I won't look at it. And I'm kind of figuring this out on the, like, literally as I'm saying this right now, this segment is coming to me just to, like, do something other than, like, just me talking about how upset I am. When I say you dish, I take, well, the inverse of that is usually how this goes. I am a disher. I am not a taker. I'll talk my shit, but the second you start doing it to me, either I'm cutting the mics off or I'm putting the gloves on. You know what I mean? And so I want to hear from some Commanders fans. Because if I'm looking at all the subject lines right now, I can tell you right now which one of you guys are Commanders fans and which one of you aren't. And I think that it's important that you guys are able to get your shit off because, again, even if I am resentful of being part of this story, I do recognize its significance, its potential significance. copingoursubs@gmail.com, spelled phonetically, email available in the description, wherever it is that you listen to this program. I mean, I don't even know which one to... This one's in all caps, so it grabbed my attention. And it has the word inauguration. Inauguration came 2 days early, is the subject line. This one comes into us from Zane. Zane, welcome to the show. Hey, Nick, I'm writing this with the final minutes counting down, and my Commanders are about to make it to the conference finals. I've lived in D.C. my whole life, and I've never seen them win in the playoffs. This team feels special. There has never been a season that I've been excited from the beginning to the end before. Question. Oh, cool. All right. Well, see, this is the fun part about doing blind emails. I don't know. I guess we're doing questions. Back to the email. Question. For the narrative, is the best outcome for the Commanders to make it to the Super Bowl? Feels a lot less special if they lose to the Eagles/the Rams, which now we know it's the Rams. I'm sorry, the Eagles. And also, where do the Lions go? I hope to see them back. Fuck off. Shut up. Oh, I fucking bet you do, so you can fucking give us our fucking... You can take our lunch money again. Maybe you can drop 50 on us next time, asshole. Oh, I hope to see you guys again. Fuck off. Shut up. I just love this team. Fuck Dan Snyder so much. Yeah, for sure. For those of you who don't know, Dan Snyder is the Mussolini that we were referring to earlier, the previous owner of the Washington Commanders. And then at the end, you included Jaden Daniels for president, the real commander-in-chief. All right, so the question you had, narratively, is the best outcome for the Commanders to make it to the Super Bowl? Brother, come on. Is it better that the rookie phenom quarterback, the Heisman-winning rookie quarterback in the NFL, who, if it wasn't for Lamar Jackson, would also be leading the NFL in rushing yards from a quarterback, is it better if that guy goes to the Super Bowl and potentially ends the Chiefs' three-peat chances? Is that cool? Or would you rather them lose to your divisional rival that you might hate more than anybody else in the world? Which one's cooler to you as the guy who actually gives a fuck about what happens to the team? Just like narratively, which one do you think is cooler? I'm going to be a little bit of an asshole because, like, A, I'm upset, and B, the fuck? Go to the Super Bowl and win that shit, brother. What do you mean? No, I do think it would be better if you lost to the Eagles. Thank you very much for the email, Zane. What's going to happen to the Lions? I hope you... I'm being mean to you, and I don't mean... You're having the weekend of your life, and you've waited your whole life for this moment. I don't mean to be mean to you. I'm projecting right now. I don't need to be mean to you. I hope you have an awesome week. I hope you have the day off of school or work for MLK Day, Zane. Have I evened it out? Let's do a different email. I don't even... Again, dude, I don't even know. Subject line grabs me on this one. Commanders meets Brothertown Noah. This one comes into us from Deshaun. What's up, Brothertown Noah? Commanders fan here. Second time, long time. What a game. Can't believe I got Daniels to root for as my quarterback for the next decade. Never seen something like this in my life. Also can't believe it happened against your Detroit Lions. Lamau. A lot of O's in the Lamau. All this just to say that the guy who emailed you in the last episode and called you a fucking retard may have been onto something. You got rolled. And folks, I think that's going to wrap up You Dish, I Take this week. Since you guys can't behave in the email, I think that's going to do it. Is that the new thing here at the Coping Hour? Is anytime something happens, you guys just call me retarded, and then that's... I tried, Commanders fans. I tried to give you guys some shine. And blindly, by the way, blindly. This is what happens when I don't screen emails. And we get one being like, would it be better if my favorite team won the Super Bowl or lost the Super Bowl? And then the other guy calls me fucking retarded. So that's what happens when I try to veer credit in a different... Zane, I'm not mad at you. But that is what happens when we try to veer credit in the direction of somebody that is not myself. Divisional round wrap up. I did not watch that Rams game. Gun to my head. You could have had a gun to my head and be like, watch this game. Pull the fucking trigger. I'm not watching NFC games for the rest of the way. NFC Championship game? I would be shocked if we have commentary on that one on this show. I don't think I'll be able to stomach it. I really don't. So, Zane, which I feel like I have been... I'm replaying everything that I've said to you in the last 5 minutes, Zane. I'm chilling out on your behalf. I'm sorry. I didn't need to be... You're just excited, brother. All right? This is the last time I'm saying it. Zane, have a good week. I feel bad. So I didn't watch that, which is too bad because Saquon went berserk. And then also the weather looked like it was a lot of fun. It ended up being a good game, but I didn't care. It just bummed me out. Could not handle it. Chiefs-Texans? Oh, boy. Yeah, it was... Man... If you think that Chiefs fatigue, as it were, had already reached a fever pitch, what happens when on national television the refs just kind of like let it happen? You know what I mean? If you watch that game, you know what I mean. What happens when the refs are just kind of like, let's get a Chiefs win and let's get out of here. What the fuck happened in that game? Look, even as somebody who like is unapologetic about like, yeah, man, I just want them to win games. I want Mahomes to succeed and like it's just fun. Even I was sitting there at some of those. What the fuck is this? The one that has people the most fired up is it was one that actually there wasn't even a flag that was thrown, but it was the attempt at baiting the flag that has people just furious. Mahomes scrambles, goes to run out of bounds. Like 3 steps before he gets out of bounds, he noticeably slows down to try to get the defender to give him a little huh. And then when the defender gives him the aforementioned huh, Mahomes does a little like he had a fucking stick of dynamite taped to him, blows up like a damn Wile E. Coyote, and he flops out of bounds and he tries to get like an unnecessary roughness call. Late hit out of bounds or something like that. The ref was like, fucking no, get up. That was not a flag. Even Aikman in the booth had some shit to say about it. And I'll sensationalize it if I try to repeat it and say that he said that Patrick Mahomes needs to be in jail for the rest of his life, which is not what he said. But what he said was the broadcaster equivalent of saying something like that. And it was interesting to hear one of these broadcasters on a major network, an A-team of a broadcast team on a major network, criticizing Patrick Mahomes for doing that type of shit. And it did make me think that Patrick Mahomes, like spectacly, is Steph Curry of the NBA. But with those little nuances, with that little bullshit that he pulls all the time, like what we just talked about, he is very Chris Paul. The only thing that comes to mind off the top of my head is when Mahomes does the little thing where he tries to bait a late hit out of bounds call. It's like when Chris Paul will be in transition and he'll know that somebody's on his ass and he'll just stop. He'll like lean over, he'll bend down and he'll stop, and the defender just like rolls over his back. And Stripes is going to give him the call every single time. That's a whistle every single time. You better hope to fuck that they're not in the bonus because CP is going to get his at the line. Chiefs end up winning that game. Sneaky, thank God, because otherwise I would have looked like a huge asshole if I had to eat crow on the Texans thing and the Commanders thing. Oh. So sneaky I was. Texas fans, you guys got hosed. I still think even if the game was like called fairly, even a little bit, the Chiefs probably still would have won. But the Texans got hosed. That's a horrible way to end your season. Just the whole game. The whole game, it was bad. So the Chiefs are moving on. Ravens, Bills. I would say that game ended up living up to our expectations for the most part. The weather certainly was awesome. The game, the first like 5 possessions of the game, there was always something happening. Touchdown. Lamar Jackson, weird interception, which, by the way, doesn't throw that many this season, like, period. What is he at? Like, 40 touchdowns, 4,000 yards in the air, leading the NFL in rushing yards from a quarterback. I think he's only thrown like 3 or 4 picks all season prior to that game against the Bills. And the one he threw was just fucking weird. And then a different sequence a couple possessions later where he's kind of getting yanked around, and then the ball is just kind of on the ground. It's just kind of there. Did Damar Hamlin get credit for that fumble? Be kind of weird if he did, but it's got to go to somebody, and he had a hand on Lamar on his ankle. It's funny as fuck to me that Damar Hamlin is wearing a Guardian cap. You guys see that? Those of you out there who don't know what a Guardian cap is, the NFL, for the last like 2 years, has been letting players wear them in practice. It's just like a protective like shell that you wear over your helmet that just like helps reduce the probability of head injuries even further than just wearing a helmet. And the technology that's in a lot of those helmets is pretty crazy, but you are still able to get a concussion. Like Tua, the helmet that he wears is like the most concussion-proof helmet that we have available on the market right now. And it is also specifically made for quarterbacks. And that motherfucker still gets concussed. So Damar Hamlin wearing a Guardian cap, I'm like, hold on. I feel like if you need anything, it's like a defibrillator stitched on the inside of your shoulder pads, but like on your chest. You know what I mean? I guess that's the end of the joke. Bills end up winning this game. I think the biggest piece of commentary here is that we spent the whole year being like, what the hell happened to Mark Andrews? Where's he at? And then he shows up in the divisional round of the AFC playoffs, and he has a weird fumble in the fourth quarter. It's just weird. And then with the season on the line, if the Ravens need 2 yards to get this 2-point conversion to tie things up with a minute and a half left in the game, 1 timeout left. This is the game right here. Your season hinges on your ability to gain 2 yards against the Buffalo Bills. And then the Ravens did. They got those 2 yards. And then Mark Andrews dropped the ball in the end zone. Holy shit, whoa. It's just over? And so the only gripe I ended up having was like, if it wasn't for Mark Andrews, we may have had, like, the game could still be going. Who knows? But instead, it turned into just like, I'm Josh Allen. We're going to run it once with Ty Johnson. He's going to get like 20 yards. And then we're just going to kneel the ball out. That's it. That's the rest of the game. Damn it. That's too bad. I don't remember if it was Nance or Romo, but they had a comment late in this game about, like, it's crazy that a game next week can, this game feels huge, but the one next week is going to feel even bigger. How crazy is that? They were right about that. Something that we did not comment on last week, Broncos Bills, Jim Nance, his 500th game in the booth. And at some point throughout that game, they're kind of in between plays, and they cut to the booth, and they do a little thing for Jim. They show a little package, and then they cut to him, and they're like, give a little spiel about this being your 500th game. And as somebody who I think he's the best in the business, in terms of the NFL, I would love to hear this. I know how much this means to him, and in turn means to, like, just me as a fan of his. So I was like, get your flowers, get your shit off, Jim Nance, and let's get back to the game. He gets about all of 5 words into what he wants to say, and then he's like, I've been 40 years in the business, and Tony cuts him off, and he's like, 40 years in the business, Jim. I was just going to say that. You've been doing this for so long. Talk to us about what that means to you. Jim is just kind of like, yeah, I was, he didn't say this, but I'm, as the chief of the body language police, I could read that he was like, yeah, I was trying to fucking do that. And so I start going off. I'm like, here he fucking goes again. Let the man speak and let him do his job. And so I'm saying all this shit. I'm going crazy. Maddie cuts me off. She goes, if you shut the fuck up, you would be able to hear that Jim is talking now. Like he's giving the spiel now. You've just been yelling over it. And once I realized that she was right, I stopped yelling and it was over. And they just went back to the game. I was like, fuck. All right, well, that was my bad. And so one of you guys actually sent an email about that. They're like, you didn't have anything to say about the fact that Jim Nantz fucked up. I'm sorry, Tony Romo fucked up Jim Nantz's 500th game, like, not acceptance speech, but like his like acknowledgement speech. I did not have commentary on that because I thought it was a little bit too niche. But I did catch it. And so I was happy that one of you out there did as well. So yeah, man, it's going to be the Bills and the Chiefs. Again, I think pound for pound the best matchup in football right now. I could not be happier with this. So some combination of Bills, Eagles, Chiefs, Commanders. Some combination of that is going to be your Super Bowl, ladies and gentlemen. Do you mind if we spend the second half of the show getting like for real? I'm talking hard, like line in the sand. If you're here for sports, that was your show, folks. Because I don't want everything that I'm about to say to sound like I'm only saying it because I'm upset that the Lions lost a game. Yes, I'm upset about it. I would be lying if I said that maybe the Lions losing didn't compound some of these issues. But I've been having a really, really hard time the last, like, maybe since Thanksgiving. And I haven't really been able to figure out what it is, or like, I'm just like, I'm off. Like, what is this? I think maybe some of it is that I have spent so many months. Our son is almost 9 months old, so I've spent a majority of those months just kind of backburnering myself. Even I don't know how true that is. I think I've just always kind of not cared about like what's going on. I'm very in tune with myself, but I don't care. We came home from the holidays a couple of weeks ago, and we get back into the mechanics of our lives, and Maddie goes back to work, and I sit and I hang out with our son all day, and 95% of my day is in one room, just hang out in the living room, just playing with him, and just being a dad and doing all this stuff. And I'm looking at the temperature on my computer right now, and it's 1 degree outside, and the real feel is minus 16. Dog, we're not going on walks. You know what I mean? In the fall, in the summer, there were days where we went on 3 walks in one day. Maddie would be going for like 10 hours at work. We're going 3 walks. That's fine. Get out of the house. But we're not doing that now. So I'm just like trapped, right? And so something that we did today is we rearranged the entire house. Our living room is now completely different, which is why I maybe I should have mentioned this up top. If you're using today's episode as a visual experience, you will notice that there's fucking nothing behind me. It's just a blank wall. I moved where I taped the show into a completely different room, and so I just haven't had time to sort of set up the set of the show. And so I thought that would help, and it did. And as far as I'm concerned, football season is over, so I shaved my beard because it's a football beard, and all right, well, it's over, so who cares? So mustache season came early this year. We're going we're going to be rocking a mustache for like 8 months. Beard won't be back until late August, like straight up like 8 months. Well, about 7. Shut up, doesn't matter. And then also had Maddie cut my hair today too. So like I'm just like I did a whole refresh of like me as a dude because I was having this like manic like crisis this morning. And it's just been kind of like bubbling for, like I said, like a month and a half. Like I don't know what it is. I'm just like something drastic needs to change. Because like in the past when I've felt this way, I literally just changed something about this show where I'll change like the graphics package, or I'll change the song, or the graphics that, you know, like the intro videos or outro cards that go with the show. Like I'll do shit like that because that feels like something that I have control of and that it is mine. I've just really struggled to identify what the thing is. I'm just trying to use the opportunity now just to talk about it, just because I'm already upset. I taped a 90-minute episode of this fucking show just now, just to find out that it was completely unusable. And so I'm looking at the clock. It's almost 11:30 at night. I have to be up in 5 hours, and then it's just the whole day again. And so I haven't been able to figure out what my problem is, other than I have just a tremendous lack of motivation to do the things that I need to be doing, because I just like can't get myself to do them. I have tried. And all of my responsibilities outside of caring for my son and making sure that he makes it to tomorrow, every day, just make sure that tomorrow he's still here. That's it. And I have done a great job of doing that so far. Well, not so far. I will continue to do a great job doing that. I don't even like the idea of putting anything like that on the universe. But as he becomes more of a person and he absorbs the things that we do, and, you know, we see it happening. Like we see in the way that he acts and the things that he does, that he is picking up on things. I have begun to feel ashamed of the fact that I don't do anything. I'm a dad. That's it. And I don't even like saying that's it, because I'm enormously proud of that. And if that's all that I am, then I'm the happiest fucking guy in the world. Apparently not, I guess. But you know what I mean? Like, I am not uncomfortable with the idea that, like, that's just my identity, is I'm a dad and that's what I do. But, like, hold on. I'm not going to cut this, but I am going to, like, just chill for a second, because I'm for real going to start crying if I say this out loud. I went a lot of years, I think, of like really fucking trying and like being a dude who like just like did shit, and now I feel like such a shell, and I feel like I have been I got beaten down so hard by things, and I don't want that to come through at some point in his life. That's not like a near future thing that like he'll be like, oh, my dad's a fucking loser quitter who I don't even know what I'm fucking saying, man. Like I guess I just don't know. I don't have a plan. The older that I get, the more that I start to realize, like, it would have been really cool if I just, like, sucked it up and just, like, did school. I'm not even necessarily just talking about college, like high school. I wish I finished high school. I kind of do. And I kind of wish that I did. I used to be so proud of the fact that I had an unconventional path, because for a while it worked. For a while, I was so proud of myself for saying that I dropped out of high school and now I live in Los Angeles and I get paid to make content and to talk about basketball. That's my job. And I co-host a podcast that I'm fucking cashing checks from the New York Times. Like I was very proud of my story. And then for one reason or another, like all that shit goes away, and then you're left without an education and without any prospects. And you're just like, wait. So what am I? Like, what do I do? like I am able to recognize in the grand scheme of things how young I am. I'm 26. So like, but that's also the part of it is like, I'm 26. I need to figure this out, man. I need to figure out what I do. Is this what I do? Twice a week, 3 times a week over on the shoot around? That's a whole different can of worms, the shoot around. I'm going to project here, but like I feel, is it projecting if you're just explicitly saying how you're feeling? We tape the shoot around every Wednesday. For those of you who don't know, it's a program I do with Jacob, a.k.a. Rusty Buckets, Alex Hoops, and producer extraordinaire Rudy St. Clair. Tape it every Wednesday. Every single show, I feel the same thing. I feel profoundly stupid. I feel stupid talking. I feel stupid being there. It is nothing that they do wrong. They don't make me feel that way. That's me. I guess when I say I'm going to project, this is what I mean. Is when I feel that way, it's because I'm projecting. Because I look at some guys who have shit figured out. They know what they do. They're talented at what they do. And for an hour, they're my peers. And I'm just like, man, like I spent so many years. Grandma, I'm going to say something. I'm okay. I'm good. I'll call you next week. I love you guys more than anything in the world, but I'm fine, okay? I'm good. And I'm going to say something that I don't want you to hear. So as far as I'm concerned, you did not hear that I'm about to say this, okay? But I did spend, I'm just talking to the fellas right now, but I did spend a lot of years being like, you know, if shit gets really bad, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like if it gets really bad, you know what I mean? But now that you know what I mean it's completely off the table. Can't do that. That's been hard for me. I'm like, I have to do all this. Like just as an abstraction life, I have to. Because I see so many. Dude, I love our kids so fucking much. And but I'm just like, dude, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, man. Like, just as a guy, and I don't even mean, like, I say as a guy, gender roles, I don't give a fuck about that. Like, I love being the house husband. I love being the stay-at-home. You know, despite maybe how I've made it sound, it's not all that it is made up to be. I empathize a lot more with the women of the 50s. The only difference is, like, it's crazy, man. Just the repetition of, like, you get up at fucking 6 a.m. And then from 6 a.m. to 7 o'clock at night, I'm just like on eggshells constantly. Cause I'm paying constant attention to my son, who is, as a 9-month-old, as you can imagine, very dependent on me and his mom when she's home. And you're just on, dude. You're just fucking on the whole time. And then, oh, fuck, it's 3 o'clock and I didn't get anything out for dinner to like defrost. And you're like, I got to do that. And then it's 4:30 and you still forgot to do it. And you got to get it out and like speed defrost it, put it under some water. And then you got to make dinner and do a whole thing. And then you got to get him to bed. And luckily, that, I don't know, it depends on the day, but sometimes she'll be home for that. Or she misses it, and that's a whole different thing, how much that fucking sucks for her. She just goes like a whole day, like not really getting to see him. And then you go to sleep. On a night like tonight, I'm not going to go to sleep until, at this point, fucking 12:30. And then in, 4 or 5 hours, you got to... And that's not even including wake-ups in the middle of the night. He hit a regression because he's got like 5 different teeth coming in at the same time. And so he'll just straight up wake up like 6 times. Okay. So then you're not sleeping. I can't nap during the day. I can't nap when he's napping because my anxiety is just like, I'm like, the second that I start to fall asleep, he's going to fucking wake up. The second and that is always how it goes. It's just how that's just always how it goes. So I don't even try anymore. And then you just do it again the next day. When you're listening to this, everything I just described is what I'm doing right now. And yes, man, I love spending that time with him. And 10 years from now, I'll look back on this and I'll be like, man, if I could have one more day of him being as small as he is right now. You try to be as present as you can. You try to absorb those moments as best as you can. I take a lot of videos. Take a lot of pictures. I do everything I can to exist in this moment with him. But goddamn, it is fucking hard. It is really, really hard. And I'm just like, dog, like, you don't even fucking know what you're doing, man, with anything. And I just want to be folks, if you are listening to this on Spotify, be sure to leave a nice little 5 stars. Spotify question for you guys. What do you think of an actual effective ban would be on stuff, on one thing? Asking this, as you can imagine, on the heels of that horse shit political theater stunt that was pulled, with TikTok. What's something that could get banned that you think would actually, like, for real, help the average person? Don't just say social media. It's fucking boring. Don't just say social media. Say something crazy like Bluetooth. No more Bluetooth. Spin that for me. How does that improve the average American's life or the average person? This can transcend Americans. Something that needs to get banned. Books would be a good one. Political opponents. Could ban some political opponents. What's one more? If I could have thought of one more, complete the fascism trifecta. Folks, if you are listening to this, not doing the full hour today. Damn, it's too bad. The streak is over after damn near 3 months. I think it'll actually be 3 months on the dot since the last one that we didn't do the full hour. I'm just a wreck. And the lines certainly didn't help. I think maybe, again, exacerbated or not exacerbated, but accelerated the timeline on some of my issues. Because it was just like it's like you wait the whole week, I deal with all this shit, and then I wait the whole week for Sunday. And I'm like, this is my 3 hours where I'm just like, this is my thing, you know? And it just so happened that, like, that release, that outlet was winning every week, you know? And then it's not, and then it's over. And you're like, fuck, now I don't have anything. Shit. So So I may look back on this and I might be a little bit embarrassed, but I don't know. This is just that's how I do the show. So if you're listening to this on YouTube, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, nice little comment for the algorithm. Make sure to keep primary control in check. I'll try to give you guys a better episode on Friday. I will catch you guys in the next one.
Beautiful, beautiful. Primary control. Beautiful. Primary control. Beautiful. Primary control.